Okay, hear me out. The X-Men aren't coming to the MCU. They're already here. And the way Marvel's going to reveal them? It's so insane that I'm honestly shocked more people aren't talking about it. I've spent way too many late nights falling down mutant-shaped rabbit holes, and I think I've finally pieced it together. Because if you look closely, like really closely, Marvel hasn't been teasing mutants. They've been hiding them in plain sight. And the plan to bring them front and center might just be one of the smartest narrative tricks they've ever pulled. Let's rewind for a second. Ever since Disney bought Fox, every fan, myself included, has been obsessively asking the same thing. When are we getting the X-Men? We expected portals. We expected timelines colliding. We expected some massive multiversal rift that spits out Wolverine and Cyclops like Pokemon from a Pokeball. But none of that's happened. Instead, Marvel's been suspiciously quiet. Too quiet. And that silence? I don't think it's accidental. I think it's part of the plan. Here's the crazy theory I'm convinced about. The mutants have always existed in the MCU. They've been living among regular humans this whole time. But something has been masking them. Not erasing them, not wiping them from existence, but literally hiding them from public awareness. And when the upcoming Multiverse Saga reaches its peak, that mask is going to shatter. Think about it. We've already seen tiny breadcrumbs scattered across Phase 4 and 5. Remember Ms. Marvel? That little mutation line wasn't a throwaway. It was Marvel confirming mutants exist right now. Namor even referred to himself as a mutant in Wakanda forever. And let's not forget Charles Xavier straight up showing up in Multiverse of Madness. The idea that mutants are some distant future concept? That ship sailed. But here's where things get juicy. Kevin Feige, the man pulling every string, has hinted that Secret Wars won't just be a big crossover event. It'll be a reset, not a reboot, but a merging of everything into one singular timeline. And that's the key. When that reset happens, I believe mutants won't arrive. They'll be revealed. Because they were always here. We just couldn't see them. Now, obviously, that raises the question, what the hell has been hiding them? And here's where I start sounding like a conspiracy theorist with a corkboard and red string. But stay with me. There are a few options that make terrifyingly good sense. Option 1, a cosmic dampening field. Maybe the Celestials or the Eternals, or even Kang himself, tampered with human perception or biology to keep mutant genes suppressed. Imagine mutants living completely normal lives, unaware of their potential because some higher power is keeping them dormant. Then, post-Secret Wars, that suppression breaks, and suddenly, boom. People all over the world are manifesting powers they never knew they had. That's a storytelling goldmine. Option 2, Moira McTaggart. If you've read the House of X comics, you know Moira's a mutant with the power to reincarnate, resetting reality with every life. What if her mutant ability has been subtly shaping this universe to delay mutant emergence? Until it's absolutely necessary. Maybe we're living in one of her earlier lifetimes, and the reset in Secret Wars is her final loop. The one where mutants rise openly. And then there's the third possibility. My personal favorite, which ties directly to the multiverse itself. Imagine if mutants did exist, but their timeline was overwritten when universes collided. Their history didn't vanish. It was overwritten, like text beneath fresh ink. The events are still there, buried under the new reality, and Secret Wars peels that layer back. Suddenly people remember. Suddenly Xavier's school isn't new. It's always been there, and the world just forgot. I know this sounds wild, but think about what that does for storytelling. Instead of awkwardly explaining how mutants arrived in a world that's already had a decade of superheroes, Marvel gets to say, they've always been part of the story, you just didn't know it. It's cleaner, more poetic, and it instantly adds layers to the MCU's history without contradicting it. And honestly, it's genius. It lets Marvel use characters like Wolverine and Magneto without needing to explain why they weren't around for Thanos or Ultron. Maybe they were fighting their own battles. Maybe they were isolated. Maybe they were hidden. It's mysterious, and mystery is exactly what the X-Men need to feel special again. Now, here's where I start getting a little emotional, because if they go this route, it opens the door to one of the coolest reveals in cinematic history. Picture this. The final moments of Secret Wars. The multiverse collapses, the dust settles, and Earth's new reality stabilizes. People start noticing strange things, memories that don't add up, new institutions that shouldn't exist. A camera pans across Westchester County. And there it is. The Xavier Institute for Higher Learning. The gates swing open. Logan steps out. Took you long enough? Tell me that wouldn't break the internet. And that's just the beginning. Because once mutants are revealed, the MCU can explore prejudice, identity, evolution, the deeper themes that make the X-Men more than just superheroes. They're not just another team. They're an entirely new dimension of storytelling, and hiding them until now makes their arrival feel earned. Okay, this part's going to melt your brain. That reveal might already be in motion. The pieces are on the board, the clues are planted, and if I'm right, Marvel's not introducing mutants in Phase 6. They're unveiling them. Alright, now that we've cracked open the mutant-sized Pandora's box, let's go deeper. Because if this reveal theory is even half true, the ripple effects across the MCU are going to be massive. And I'm not just talking about a few cameos or Easter eggs, I'm talking about the entire superhero landscape getting flipped upside down overnight. Let's start with the most obvious question: who shows up first? Because let's be real, Marvel's not going to dump the entire X-Men roster into one movie and call it a day. Nah. They're going to slow burn this thing like they did with the Avengers. And if I had to bet my popcorn money, the first mutant we're going to see isn't Wolverine or Cyclops. It's going to be Charles Xavier. Here's why I think that. Xavier isn't just a character. He's the bridge. He's the one who can explain mutants to the audience and the MCU world at the same time. Imagine the first time we see him. A news broadcast interrupts normal programming, revealing that a school has been operating under the radar for years, helping gifted individuals control their powers. Boom! Instant intrigue, instant stakes, and a natural way to explain why mutants haven't been public until now. And once Xavier steps onto the stage, the dominoes start falling fast. Next up, you know who it's going to be. Logan. And look, I know some people are tired of Wolverine hogging the spotlight, but let's be honest, he's the face of the X-Men. You can't build this universe without him. The trick, though, will be how they introduce him. I don't think Marvel's going to give us another Weapon X origin montage. We've seen that story a dozen times. Instead, I think we'll meet Logan as he is now. A man who's been quietly existing on the fringes of society, hiding his powers, maybe even denying who he is. Then the mask falls. That hidden layer I talked about earlier shatters, and suddenly the animal side he's been suppressing comes roaring back. And here's where things get spicy. Logan won't be the only familiar face. Magneto is almost guaranteed to show up early too, and not just as a villain. In fact, I think Marvel's going to blur the lines between good and evil way more than the Fox movies ever did. Because Magneto isn't just a bad guy, he's a survivor. He's a man shaped by trauma, by a world that fears him. And when mutants become public knowledge in the MCU, that fear is going to explode. And that is where the storytelling gets real. Because think about it. Up until now, the MCU's central conflicts have been superhero versus villain, hero versus cosmic threat. But with mutants, the conflict becomes humanity versus evolution. It becomes deeply personal, political, messy. And that's exactly what the X-Men should be. They're not about saving the world from aliens. They're about trying to exist in a world that doesn't want them. And here's the thing that gives me goosebumps. Marvel has been laying the groundwork for that story quietly for years. Look at Falcon and the Winter Soldier, a show that was basically a thesis on systemic prejudice. Look at Civil War, which was all about accountability and control. Look at She-Hulk, which touched on public fear of superpowered individuals. All those threads can seamlessly merge into the mutant storyline. It's not a hard pivot. It's a natural evolution of the universe's social tension. Now, let's talk about legacy casting, because I know this is a big question for fans. Are we getting the old Fox actors back? Are they starting fresh? Honestly, I think Marvel's going to do a bit of both. Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen could absolutely appear in Secret Wars or Doomsday as multiversal echoes, versions of Xavier and Magneto from another reality. But the main timeline mutants we follow long-term, those will almost certainly be fresh faces, and that's a good thing. Because if this theory plays out the way I think it will, the mutants we meet after the reset will feel new. They'll have always been here, but they'll be stepping into the light for the first time, just like we're seeing them for the first time. Now, here's one more piece of speculation that makes me almost too excited to sleep at night. The Avengers vs. X-Men arc. You know it's coming. Marvel isn't going to pass up the chance to pit Earth's mightiest heroes against the children of the atom. And if mutants suddenly emerge in a world that's already packed with superheroes, conflict is inevitable. Governments will panic. Heroes will disagree. Lines will be drawn. And somewhere in that chaos, someone, maybe Xavier, maybe Magneto, will say the words that define the next decade of Marvel storytelling. We're not the same as them. We're the next step. But the beauty of this theory, and the reason I'm obsessed with it, is that it doesn't just explain how mutants arrive. It reframes the entire MCU. It retroactively gives meaning to small hints, background details, and mysterious plot threads. It lets Marvel honor everything they've built over the past 15 years, while also launching a brand new era that feels fresh and unpredictable. And more importantly, it gives the X-Men the gravitas they deserve. They're not just some team popping in from another universe. They're the next chapter of evolution, the future of this world. And when that moment finally happens, when the gates of Xavier's school open, when Logan's claws unsheath, when humanity realizes they're no longer the top of the food chain, it's going to feel earned. Not rushed, not forced, earned. Like a story that's been hiding in the shadows, waiting for its time to shine. So, yeah. I don't think the X-Men are coming. I think they're already here. And when Marvel finally flips that switch, the MCU will never be the same again. If you're as hyped for that moment as I am, do me a favor. Drop a comment telling me which mutant you're most excited to see. And hey, if you love these deep dive theories as much as I love making them, make sure you hit that like button, share this video with a fellow Marvel nerd, and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Because trust me, we're just getting started.